For this video, I'm going to show you how to make a pesto pasta. I will do another pasta dish as well, and you can choose which one you actually want to do. So the first thing we need to do is get a pan of water and bring it up to the boil, and then we're going to add the pasta to that once it's boiling. You can either tip that straight from your bag, but be very careful. Try and control how it goes in because you don't want it splashing everywhere, or you can just lift it out with your hand and pop it in, but as I said, be very careful because that water is boiling. You need to then leave that to boil for probably about 10 to 12 minutes depending on how long it says that it needs to do. So while the pasta is boiling, we will actually get on with preparing our ingredients. So for this recipe that I'm doing, the only vegetables that I will be putting into this are mushrooms, although hopefully you're going to be a bit more exciting than that, but my daughter's going to eat this and she likes it just with mushrooms in. So as I said, if it is that you only like a certain type of vegetable, that's fine. So I'm just going to chop these up, slice these up ready. So as you can see, I'm just putting them flat down onto the chopping board and then slicing them up, ready for when we get to the next stage after our pasta is cooked. Now it is important, even when you're preparing your vegetables, to still keep an eye on your pasta. Just give it a stir to make sure that it isn't sticking to the bottom of the pan, and if the water starts to get a bit low and it looks like it's going to dry out, then just pop a bit more water in there to make sure, again, as I said, that the pasta doesn't start sticking. Now this is going to take a few more minutes, and then I'm going to show you the best way to check that that pasta is cooked. Okay, now unfortunately in school we've only got enough, well, pans and hobs for you to be able to use one pan and one hob at a time. If you were doing this at home, you could be starting to fry off your vegetables while you were waiting for your pasta to cook. Now the best way to check if your pasta is cooked is to take a piece out. You can just get a single piece. Obviously watching again because it's boiling. Let that just cool down for a few minutes, for a couple of minutes, and then either just squish it between your fingers to see if it feels soft, or the best way to actually tell is just to taste it and check that it's cooked as well as you want it cooked. Now remember, it is going to carry on cooking for a few minutes when we actually put it into the sauce, so if it's just near enough being cooked, that's going to be good enough. So as I said, once that's cooled down, you can just have a taste and see how you think it's going and whether it needs any longer. Right, your next step now is going to be to drain your pasta. So depending on how confident you feel with the weight of it, if you're happier, just put the colander into the sink, so you're not trying to hold the colander in one hand and tip it in with the other hand. You then need to get your pasta and carry it across to the sink, so again being very careful because there are other pupils around. And then, as I said, depending how confident you are, just tip very carefully and very gently, tip your pasta into the colander to drain off all of the water. What you can do as well then is just rinse it with the cold water tap, and that will just wash off some of the starch and prevent the pasta from sticking together while it's actually waiting to be used. That pasta then needs to be tipped into the container that you're taking your pasta home in, because it'll just wait there then, ready for other people to be able to use the colanders while we actually get the other ingredients cooked. So you will have needed to have washed out your pan now, ready for you to actually use it again. So wash it out and completely dry it, because we're going to put oil in there and we don't want the oil and water mixing, which means that the fat would then start spitting over you. What we can do then is pop your vegetables, whatever you're using. Now, as I said, in the case here, I'm just actually putting some mushrooms in. So I'm going to pop the mushrooms into my pan and fry those off for a few minutes. Ingredients going in at this stage would be things like, if you wanted to put your mushrooms in, your onions, your peppers, if any of you are using any courgettes. So just putting in the vegetables that you want to fry off for a few minutes first. If I was using something like putting some sweet corn in there, I would put that in afterwards. So I'm just going to fry those off for a few minutes first of all. So once I've been cooking those mushrooms now for a few minutes, as you can see they've reduced in size in the pan, I'm then going to add my pesto. As I said, this is going to be the pasta dish. I'm going to put 3 heaped teaspoons of pesto into there. I'm also going to add some milk and then just stir that around first of all to make sure that it's all mixed in. Once then we can see that the pesto and the milk have mixed in properly with the vegetables, we're then going to add so once we can see that the pesto and the milk have added in there, we're then very carefully going to add our pasta in, and again carefully mix that around to make sure that it's thoroughly mixed through basically. Okay, so just going to do that, as I said, to make sure that we mix it all through, and then just leave it on the heat for a few more minutes just to give time for that sauce to thicken up. So after just a few minutes that's thickened up quite a bit, so we can turn that off now. So turn the hob off, and then again very carefully, I'm going to put this now into a serving dish, but you would put that into the container that you're going to take that home in. And there we have your pesto pasta.